very eminent personality with us, Dr. Kamla Pathak. So, Dr. Pathak ma'am is the Dean and Professor in the Faculty of the Pharmacy, Uttar Pradesh University of the Medical Science, Saifai. Professor Kamla Pathak graduate and postgraduate in the Pharmaceutics from the University Institute of the Pharmaceutical Science, Punjab University, Chandigarh, and also on her doctorate in the pharmacy in year 1991 from the same institute. With the teaching and research experience more than 30 years, ma'am is currently working as a dean and professor in faculty of the pharmacy, Uttar Pradesh Medical Science, Uttar Pradesh University of Medical Science, Etawah. She is a member of various professional body, actively engaged in the research on the oral control, modulated, targeted, and the topical drug delivery system. She has over the 270 publication in Journal of International and National Reputations. Ma'am are also the author of the 4 book, 21 book chapters, and more than 180 abstract of the paper presented in the various scientific forum on her credentials. Ma'am are having the H index of the 34 as per the Scopus and the 44 as per the Google Scholar, and she is having the wide experience of the research and development of various kind of the formulations, as I know. So we are very grateful to ma'am joining and sharing your experience on this platform as we are going to conduct this webinar on the topic of the 3D applications in the pharmaceutical dosage form development. So before switch on the presentation, I would like to request Director Sir, sir, please say a few words for madam.
So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, on behalf of ISF family, I welcome Professor Dr. Kamla Pathak, Dean Professor Faculty of Pharmacy, Uttar Pradesh University of Medical Sciences, Saifai, from core of my heart. As we know that from the long back, I am knowing very well Dr. Pathak madam, but due to some, you can say, I don't say any words like that, but due to some of the availability or direct connectivity like that, this is the long back. We are on the same platform on the online this one. So, madam, this as you know that this is the webinar is the live with the YouTube and also recorded by the Google Meet. So near about 50 of the participants, they will be direct connect with the Google Meet, and more than this, they are the watching on the YouTube channel. So it's my prime responsibility and moral duty to give the brief about this institution only the within the 2 or 3 minutes. So as you know that, madam, this institute is affiliated IKG PTU Jalandhar, and this is the autonomous institute. And last 5 years, we are in the ranking of the NRIF. And during the COVID-19, this institute achieved one of the track record by the AICT. This is the Utkarsh Sansthan Vishkarma Award, and continuously I am in the Atal ranking. So in the 2020, I have achieved the position between 6 to 25, and in 2021 we have the again in the excellent rank. So we have the total faculty member over here is the 71. Out of this 111 professors and the 22 associate professor, and the 38 we have the assistant professor in the discipline. We are running the D Farm, B Farm, M Farm in the 9 branches PharmD and PharmD program. So as you are the professional, you know very well this institute. For the purpose of this webinar to give some of the latest information, and we also include some of the 3D printing like of the module in this institute also. So this is the good opportunity to all students as well as the faculty member to interact such types of the dedicated, dynamic, and thoroughly intelligent Dr. Kamla Pathak ji. So today's talk in the 3D printing, methodology and pharmaceutical application. So I hope that in the coming year, in the future prospect, we can come to know that 3D printing is the how it is very, very important. So nowadays, most of the scientists and some of the established universities, they are working on it. So again, I am thankful to the organizing committee, Dr. Nitin ji, for inviting me. and I am thankful to the Dr. Kamla Pathak ji for accepting our invitation, and you have given your precious time to our faculty member and student to deliver this such types of the talk. So thank you very much. I don't want to take more time. I welcome again all, and I request to all faculty member as well as the student, those who are direct live on the, you can say, YouTube, and direct connect on the Google Meet. So if you have any inquiry, any question, you can send through the chat box, or at the end of the lecture you can direct ask with the renowned speaker Pathak madam. And this is the another request to all of you. Please, you can mute your this is the mobile phone as well as your what types of the things you have attached. Either you are with the mobile or by the with of the you have your laptop. So you can throughout the mute this one. When you want to interact and session will be open for discussion by the coordinator Dr. Nitinji, then one by one you can unmute and you can ask your queries, and if you have some of the suggestion you can also include, because I know that when we are the talking about on the online platform, so such types of the disturbance, it will create the some of the anxiety, or you can say disturbance in the delivery to the speaker. So take care, and I hope that this lecture will be highly fruitful to each and everyone. So again, welcome madam, and thank you very much, and thanks to all.
Thank you, Director Sir, for the motivational words. And I hope your words will be push us, and the whole event, that this webinar will be very fruitful to all the students and the faculty member who are joining us from all over the India. Director Sir, for your information, we received more than 350 registration for this webinar, but we have the limitation that we can only allow the 100, maximum 100% on the Google Meet. So we are we are integrating this whole event to the YouTube, so that we can integrate all the participants in the this webinar. So this is the beauty of this webinar. So Kamla Pathak ma'am, we are not going to waste much time. Just over to you. Please start your PPT.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Nitin. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. G.D. Gupta for giving me an opportunity to be a part of ISF family, though as a distant expert. And he has portrayed a very great picture of me, and I'm so humbled to hear about that. His words are, he's been very kind to say those words, and this reflects his true professionalism, that let us grow together. That is his motto, and I really appreciate him for that. And I'm also thankful to Dr. Nitin for providing me this opportunity. He was actually the coordinator for getting me through. And like much has been said about me, and I hope that I meet the expectations what has been said about me. So let me start. I will talk about 3D printing, and I'll convey something about methodologies and the pharmaceutical applications of 3D printing, and some of the advances also related to it. As you can see in the first slide itself, I have given the process, that is CAD file, which is computer aided drug design, then STL file, that is stereolithography file, and then goes to the additive manufacturing process, and then we get the final object. This is the basic principle of 3D printing. So basically 3D printing is layer by layer production of 3D objects from digital designs. Now this, you have to understand this line, because if I ask that how you produce a tablet, you will say we mix the ingredients and put it into the granulating machine, and then it is then punched, right? But here the thing is that you have to use digital designs. So something related to, instead of manual thing, we are using something digital. That is the difference, and that leads to precision. So basically this technique is a confluence of chemistry, optics, and robotics research, and it has been with us with more than 30 years ago. Like, it has been since 1988, and those times it was used with automotive industry, aerospace industry, consumer goods industries, and so on. But it gained attention in pharmaceutical manufacturing later. So FDA first approved a 3D printed drug product in August 2015. So you can understand when it was introduced in 1988, it reached to pharmacy in 2015. Now the research interest in 3D printed products has since then been growing. Now this is the basic principle.
ये शमन मैडम की मैडम यही है कमला पाठक मैडम
Excuse me, please mute.
I request all the participants, please mute yourself.
Yeah, Dr. Gupta, thank you, because यही आप point out भी कर रहे थे. Okay, now coming to the principle of 3D printing, we have a 3D CAD file. Okay, computer aided design. The file is made on computer. Whatever product you want to make, that is made on computer. Then it is converted into stereolithic file. Now, stereolithic file, what does it mean? It is basically a type of file format which is commonly used for 3D printing. And the name STL, it stands for stereolithography, which is very common for 3D printing. And it can also be called as It can also be called as standard triangle language. So it is a file which can be a stereolithographic file or standard triangle language file. Then next process is additive manufacturing process. Now this file, STL file, is basically made on computer. You can see the product is depicted as layers. This is the basic beauty of 3D printing. The STL file has to be defined in terms of layers. Then the additive manufacturing process will actually develop layer by layer. You can see in the third picture, the product is being developed, actually being developed. Till 3D is 3D CAD file and STL file, we are still talking about the software. Okay, we are on computers. Next comes the additive manufacturing process, which actually generates the product layer by layer. And then we get the final object. So basically there are 5 steps. First is the designing. The intended product, whatever is to be designed, is digitally rendered. So you have to make the designs in 3D with computer aided design software, or you can even use 2D. So either 3D or 2D design software can be used. Next is conversion of the design to a machine readable format. So STL file is basically a machine readable format. Okay, from computer, you're transferring it to the machine which has to manufacture it. And that file should be readable by that machine. So 3D designs are typically converted to STL format, which describes the external surface of a 3D model. And then 3D printing programs slice these surfaces into distinct printable layers. As you can see in the figure, you can see layers of the file. These are all in files, right? And transfers layer by layer instructions digitally to the printer. So this file, each layer is having a particular type of a program, and that program is to be transferred to the printer. Like you print normally use a printer, right? So next step is raw material processing. So how the product gets developed. So the raw materials are then processed by the machine, and the instructions are given by the software. So the raw materials may be processed into granules, filaments, or binder solutions to facilitate the printing process. So the printing is basically what? It is the raw materials are added and solidified in an automatic layer by layer manner to produce the desired product. It is very similar that if you want to produce a tablet, you have to prepare a software, you have to prepare a design of the tablet, cut it into layer by layer, that is STL format, and that each layer will be printed by the printer. So you get the tablet. Now after printing, after making tablet, what is done? We do certain post-processing steps. So likewise here also, after printing, the product may require drying, sintering, polishing, or other post-processing steps, and any unprinted material, that is which has not been converted into tablet, may be harvested and recycled for continued use in the printing process. So basically these are the 5 steps. First designing, then machine readable format, that is STL file, then processing the raw material and printing it. So there are various methods for 3D printing. I'll select only few methods. First is binder deposition. This is the primary 3D printing technology used for pharmaceutical production in inkjet deposition on powder beds. So on a powder bed, there is deposition. Deposition of what? Deposition of formulations of drugs or binders in small droplets at precise speeds, motions, and sizes onto a powder bed. So basically, the inkjet is spraying either the formulation of the drug to the binder bed or the binder to the drug bed. So the liquid formulation inside the printer may contain a binder only, or the powder bed may contain the API with additional excipients. Like just have tablet formulation banate, you take the API and other excipients. In this case, what is happening is we take the tablet, the API plus excipients, but the binder is not added. It is sprayed through inkjet sprayer, and that is done in the printer. That is done in the printer. Otherwise, instead of this procedure, we can also do what we can do is we can jet the API onto the powder beds as solutions or nanoparticle suspension. So in this case, the powder bed is made up of binder. तो या तो आप binder को spray कर लीजिए या API को spray कर लीजिए. And it is very common in process to granulation, and therefore this method has potential drug delivery applications. Now, this figure represents how 3D printing is carried out by binder deposition. So we have a hopper which contains the powder blend. And this powder is then supplied to the powder feeder, and then there is a device which is called as the powder roller, which will convert this powder into layer. Third thing is the inkjet print head. Now this is containing small nozzles. So in this head, what we add is the binder solution. So the binder solution is sprayed onto the powder bed of API plus excipients, and then we get different layers, and all these layers are combined together to get the product. Second method is material jetting, where now when we use inkjets, we can also print free form structures that solidify drop by drop. In the previous one, what we were doing is we were trying to create layers. Independent droplets nahi bana rahe, we are trying to make layers. But in material jetting, we can directly get the free form structure. So commonly jetted materials are molten polymers and waxes, curable resins, solutions, suspensions, and complex multi-component fluids. Now, material jetting is more challenging than binder deposition, because here the entire formulation needs to be formulated for jetting, and then it is rapidly solidified. The advantage is that we can get droplets of about 100 micron in diameter. So this method will directly produce the droplets, which means we can directly produce microspheres. And that is what is the interesting part. So researchers have printed microparticles for drug delivery. Third technology is extrusion. Now this is one of the widely used 3D printing technology in pharmaceutical manufacturing. Extrusion, as you know, is basically what you do is you force the material through a nozzle. So material is extruded from robotically actuated nozzles. So these nozzles are also controlled by robots. And unlike binder deposition, which requires a powder bed, extrusion methods can print on any substrate. So we don't require exactly a powder bed. It can be a liquid, it can be a suspension, it can be a semi-solid. On any substrate you can print through extrusion. Now the materials that can be extruded for 3D printing are molten polymers, pastes, colloidal suspensions, silicons, and other semi-solids. A common type of extrusion printing is fused filament fabrication, which is called as FFF. Now what is this FFF? This is a very popular 3D printing system which uses solid polymeric filaments. Okay, we are using filaments of polymer, and the raw material is non-volatile and non-aerosolizing. Now, extruded material is typically more viscous than the jetted material, which can increase the time required to start and stop the fluid. So the point is, whenever we are trying extrusion, we always have very viscous material as compared to the previous methodologies. There we require thinner section. Also, the entire product and support structure has to be printed. Now, there is a complexity in this method, but still it is a versatile product and is very widely used for 3D printing. So this is a diagram for hot melt extrusion where we have a powder blend, and this powder blend is extruded in the form of a filament. And then we have a software, right? CAD software koi bhi ho sakta hai, and then we use the STL file, and the dosage form which is in the computers is transported to the equipment. So the software is controlling the design and we get this type of a tablet through extrusion. So basically what we are getting a filament, and that filament is being converted into the dosage form by means of computer aided software. And we can get various types of tablets, or we can get various shapes also. We can vary the shapes. Software change kar dijiye, you can change the shape. Next is powder bed fusion. Now powder bed, whenever we talk of fusion, it means that we are using heat. And here we are using heat for fusing the powder bed. So the process is sintering, right? Which is partial surface melting and congealing. Or it can be binding of high melting point particles with low melting point binder. So either you can follow sintering, or you can have a mix of high melting point particles and a low melting point binder. In both the cases, we require heat which is supplied by the laser. And recent alternative for heating powders is high-speed sintering, which is inkjet deposition of a dye followed by infrared radiation. So instead of laser, we can use infrared radiation to produce the heat. Now, powder bed fusion is rapid but complex alternative to extrusion process, and it is used for polylactic acid. Next technique is photopolymerization. This is also called as stereolithography. And in this case, we use liquid resins which are exposed to ultraviolet radiation or any other high energy source. This induces polymerization, right? So we are basically using a UV or any other high energy light source to produce polymerization. And this polymerization helps in producing the desired dosage form. Now, when we use this method, this is a very nice and very delicate method, but what we require is that the material which we are using, the raw material, it should be capable of being photopolymerized. That is, it should undergo polymerization when exposed to UV radiation. And such materials are very rare in pharmaceutical manufacturing. And another problem is whenever we execute polymerization, what happens is some polymer is formed, but we also have monomers. The residual monomers are also left out, and these monomers are toxic. So, and the toxicity may be up to genetic level. So that is the only limitation with this technique, right? But they are the fastest method, and the 3D printers available for photopolymerization are the high resolution 3D printers. And this technique has been used for 3D printing of photopolymerizable hydrogels. And this is what is stereolithography. You can see in the diagram, there is a laser system which is providing the laser. And this is the tank which is filled with the resin, which is photopolymerizable. Okay. And this photopolymerizable raw material, under the influence of laser, gets converted into the product. So this is the product. It is being built, and this building is controlled by 3D software. Then we have pen-based 3D printing. Now this is one very interesting example, and this type of pen is available on Amazon. Anyone who is interested in understanding 3D printing, this is the easiest technique to see what 3D printing is. Go on Amazon and buy this pen. Now this is basically an extension of extrusion 3D printing, where the layer by layer assembly is manually controlled with a handheld device. You can see this is the pen. And the product, which is actually here visible as 2D, it is actually a 3D drawing. Now, what this pen is, PEN is basically, it is containing either polylactic acid or acetobutyl stearate. So any two polymers can be used, and there is a knob for temperature adjustment. So start heating, the red light will display heating, and the green lights displays heating has been finished. So after the heating has been finished, what you have to do is just roll out the filament and draw whatever you want to draw. So, okay, so basically power on, select the filament mode, whether you want PLA mode or ABS mode. Once you get the green light, then you have to adjust, you have to load the filament, that is either PLA or ABS filament, and then adjust the speed and press the button and do the drawing, right? Now, this technique is being used by researchers for using it in surgery, where you require very fine surgery. Their deposition of 3D structured materials is being thought. Then we have 3D printed molds. Now, whatever techniques I have discussed till now, all of them are producing the products. But sometimes there is, because we cannot produce each product. Why? Because each method has its own set of restrictions. So we cannot produce each product. Then what can we do? We can create molds. So instead of printing the object, print the molds. And from those molds, you can create the 3D printed object. So we can have complex objects with non-printable materials. So this is an example. You can see the molds, and from this mold, this 3D product has been created. Likewise, we can use this technique for creating suppositories. Like you can see this one, we have a rectal suppository. The computer will draw the front shape, it will draw the bottom, and then the two faces, which on separation. And this design is then subjected into STL format, and then we can feed the software, feed the design into the printer, and get the rectal suppository. Likewise, we can design the vaginal suppository, again front, bottom, the two layers separated, and then 3D printing to get the vaginal suppository. So 3D, the advantage of this is that you can use these molds to get shrunken products. You can create micro scale products, or even the product. So I've talked about these techniques, and it is not that they are just being used as they are used for production only. Many research has been reported in various journals, and I have selected one of them, which states design and characterization of a novel 3D printed pressure controlled drug delivery system. So this is what the researchers have done, and this was published in the European Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences, where a self-constructed piston extruder was used for hot melt extrusion of filaments made from Uttar RS. So you can use this simple material. Uttar RS can be used for preparing a 3D printed product. What you need is a 3D printer at your lab. And hot melt extrusion technique was used, and then we prepared the product produced was a capsule, which was a chronotherapeutic product, which released the drug at various time intervals. This was no release, and thereafter the pulsatile release was observed. So the researchers created a very interesting product. There are certain 3D printing methods that are still not applied to drug product manufacturing, like directed energy deposition, laminated object manufacturing, electrospinning, extrusion plus electrospinning plus sacrificial molding, voxel printing, or rapid assembly. So these are some other methods of 3D printing, but they have not been used for pharmaceutical applications. Now, why do we need 3D printing? We are happy with the products which are available in the market. Why we are talking, and why do we need 3D printing? The reason is we have three drivers for it, three motivational drivers. First is product complexity, personalization, and on-demand manufacturing. Now, I'll make you understand. The first one is increased product complexity. See, since the pharmaceutical dosage forms were first invented or discovered or made, they have evolved from being simple to complex. For example, we started from botanicals to ointments, powders, to lotions, to compressed tablets. These were all prepared. The compressed tablets were first prepared in 1878. Then came the dosage form evolution in the 20th century, which was largely fueled by the polymer science. So once we had polymers with us, we made extended release, delayed release tablets, transdermal drug delivery systems, and long-acting implants. Then 3D printing of the pharmaceuticals was first reported around 1996. This helped what? This helped in exercising digital control over the arrangement of matter. Earlier it was mechanical control over the matter. We used machines to do the job. So this is a step change in the dosage form evolution that may produce striking changes in immediate release, modified release, and combination drug products. So you can see from simple botanicals, we have gradually reached to 3D products. So why we need 3D products? Because the products in their complexity have increased. Now, what is the complexity? See, whenever we talk of a drug product, we are mainly talking of release, and the release is dependent on the structure. Okay, which means that the drug product structure can affect the drug release. And if we can change the structure, we can change the release. So which means that by 3D printing, we can create new opportunities for drug delivery. For example, FDA has approved Piritam as a unitary porous structure produced by 3D printing process. So this is the first product which is approved that binds powder without compression. So here you don't require compression process, right? So this structure, what is the beauty of the structure? It allows tablets with up to 1000 mg of levetiracetam to disintegrate within seconds when taken with a sip of water. Something like orodisposable, right? Orodisposable. But here we are not talking of orodisposable. We are talking of simple tablet, and that too with a very high dose of 1000 mg, which is definitely very difficult to produce when we are using conventional machines. Then apart from this, the disintegration is not only the one factor which is affected by the structure, even the dissolution is affected. Okay, so complex 3D printed shapes can have speedier dissolution than traditional immediate release products, which means that we can have strategies for increasing dissolution rates by 3D. What are those strategies? We can print high surface area we can print high surface area shapes, or we can print amorphous dispersions by hot melt extrusion. Now, 3D printing may also create new manufacturing options for preparing dosage forms of potent APIs. Normally, what happens when we are manufacturing products with potent API, there is always some liberation of dust, and that may cause occupational hazard. So, to solve this problem of occupational exposure to potent API, we can use 3D printing, which is a powder-free printing. Then even we can use 3D printing for printing of extremely low dose products containing as little as 3 nanograms of API with 10% relative standard deviation. Now this is not possible at all with conventional techniques. We can never achieve uniformity with nanogram level using conventional techniques. Likewise, we can also use 3D printing for fluid bed granulation for producing 1 microgram tablet with 5% relative standard deviation, and we cannot produce it with conventional techniques. No single technique can do that. So, although 3D printing can be utilized for immediate release product, majority of the 3D printing research focuses on modified release products because we want to have a greater control over release kinetics as well as for drug targeting. So 3D printing could replicate existing modified release solid dosage forms such as matrix tablets, or we prepare reservoirs with insoluble or enteric coatings, bilayer or coated tablets for pulsatile release, and osmotic pumps. So we can design any of these by 3D printing. And even we can design 3D printed implants, which will have complex drug release profiles. We can also use 3D printing for manufacturing drug devices and drug biologic combination products. Now, these are the most complex drug products. And with the use of digital control, over arrangement of matter, we can easily design these products. The drug devices include wirelessly triggered capsules, magnetically controlled microtransporters, and antibiotic loaded catheters. So these are all devices, like catheters has been loaded by the antibiotic, whereas microtransporters, they are being loaded with a drug. Similarly, we can have capsules also loaded with the drug. Now these are complex devices, but we can create very readily with 3D printing. Likewise, we can have 3D printed drug biologic combination products like drug eluting scaffolds for pharmacologically controlled tissue engineering. So when we opt for tissue engineering, we can use these scaffolds. This is especially useful when there is burn or something like that. Now, so what I talked was about the complexity. When we talk of any complexity in the drug product, we can always think of 3D printing. That is the driving force. More complex the drug product, you can always go for 3D printing. The next driving force is personalization. Now, we are all aware of personalized medicine, which is based on biomarkers. For example, we can use Herceptin to treat HER2 overexpressing breast cancer. Right? If we can diagnose that HER2 is being overexpressed in breast cancer, then this drug of choice will be Herceptin. That is personalized medicine. Like this, we can also have personalized dosage form design, because 3D printing can facilitate personalization. How we can do that? We can modify digital designs. It's very easy to modify on computer, right? So we can modify the digital designs very readily as compared to the physical equipment. So 3D printing can make multiple small individualized batches economically feasible. Okay, so we can design a dosage form depending upon the patient's need. So basically 3D printing is helping us in personalized doses, personalized implants, and personalized products. This will improve adherence to the therapy. It also ensures accurate dosing in children, and it also permits personalized dosing of highly potent drugs. Now this slide specially shows how we can personalize the medicines. This is a typical slide of depicting printing multi-drug polypills, which means we are combining all the patient's medications into a single daily dose and personalizing the drug release based on patient's anatomy and population level variability in drug metabolism. See, there are three examples. First one is we have a dosage form. It has been broken into two parts. One is immediate release component and the extended release compartment. So immediate release compartment is having ASA, that is aminosalicylic acid, and hydrochlorothiazide. And then we have an extended release compartment which is of cellulose acetate, and it has three drugs: ramipril, atenolol, pravastatin. So 5 drugs combined into a single pill with variable release characteristics. This is only possible with 3D printing. Otherwise, the patient will have to take 5 tablets, right? Likewise, this is another example where naproxen, aspirin, paracetamol, caffeine, chloramphenicol, and prednisolone. These all have been made into different, combined into one single pill. So that is why, because we are having so many components together, it is called as a polypill. Likewise, we have, this is a caplet, that is a tablet shaped as capsule. So it is containing 2 different drugs. You can see blue and white, and this is being made into multi-layer, whereas this is duo caplet, which means capsule. It is not a capsule basically, I'll call it as a caplet. Capsule made as tablet. So one caplet, and surrounding that is the bigger caplet. So this type of typical complicated designs, they are only possible through 3D printing. Then we have personalization of implants also. Now implants are very widely used for various purposes, like you want to have a control over angina, or you have to maintain hormonal release. In that case, it is done. Now printing implants that match patients' anatomical features is the beauty of 3D. We can design tracheal splints and bone grafts. This is done in for medical purposes, but we can also apply them to pharmacy, where we can prepare 3D printed implants which are drug loaded and they are personalized too. Now, what is the importance of personalization? This can improve patients' adherence to medication. And to demonstrate this concept, researchers at University College London printed animal-shaped drug products for children. Now, these are not toys. These are basically drug products for children. The idea is to make them acceptable. Because it is very difficult to make a child adhere to the therapy. So by use of this kind of approach, we can create beautiful toys, drug-loaded toys, which are acceptable to the children. Then these are some other examples of 3D drug-loaded implants, where primarily for hormonal control. So you can see these are various devices which are meant for contraception control for long-term use. Likewise, we can also have 3D printed bone grafts. You can see the bone graft has been very beautifully designed. And likewise, we can have titanium nanotubes for drug delivery. So anything is possible with 3D printing products. Now, the third driving force is on-demand manufacturing. Now, this is a very useful component, and it can be useful for public health, where we can directly print the product onto the patient. And this has been applied to create tissue engineering scaffolds and wound healing gels on demand. Directly applying the gel, 3D printing से directly skin पे ही apply हो रहा है gel. Now, when we talk of this, then I have to mention printing in time or other resource constraint settings. For example, the disaster areas. It is so difficult to reach if there is flood or a landslide or something like that. It is so difficult to reach there. There, 3D printers can be valuable. Likewise, in emergency rooms also, in operating rooms, ambulances, in intensive care units, and in military operations, where you cannot actually, if you don't have access to the medications, then 3D printer could be very valuable in these areas. And then there is another time constraint setting. Which is product development. Now, those in R&D will understand that there is always a desire to reach an optimized formulation very fast. Okay, so for that, where there is time is the constraint, we can use 3D printing. We can produce lower batches, smaller batches, and then go ahead with the formulation optimization. 3D printing can also be used for low stability drugs for immediate consumption. Now, this concept, that is the drugs which are poorly stable, they can be printed and they can be consumed immediately. This concept began as early as 2011. This concept was applied to 3D printing in 2014. So the birth of the concept was in 2011. And then this was used for preparing 3D printed products for the drugs which are poorly stable, for example, nitroglycerin. So the advantage would be that we don't need to store them for long. So this slide shows 3D skin printing. So here, that is what I was talking. If you have a constraint, or you want to get that things done very fast, then this is one way. See, you can see the skin is being printed directly on the hand. This is useful when a person suffers from burns. So if I summarize what I've said, that we can prepare many dosage forms from 3D printing, like IR tablet, bilayer tablet, capsule, polypill, sets, implants, which can be used for diseases in cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disorder, neurodegenerative disorders, and others. And there are various techniques like binder deposition, material jetting, extrusion, powder bed fusion, photopolymerization, pen-based 3D printing. So all of these techniques can be used to prepare 3D products, and they can be used for personalized medicines, modified delivery, personalized prosthetics, medical devices, biofabrication, and anatomical models. So it is not ended here. There is much progress being done in 3D printing, and 3D printing is also called as additive manufacturing. That is why I use the term AM process, that is additive manufacturing. So in 1984, 3D printing was used, then it evolved into 3D bioprinting, then came in 2013 came 4D printing, followed by 4D bioprinting, and then 5D printing. Now bioprinters are used. What is this bioprinting? Here we use biological inks, that is cytocompatible hydrogels. Bioinks are cytocompatible hydrogels. Now, what is the problem with 3D printing? 3D printing means that we are taking into account only the initial state of the printed structure. Whatever is in the software, that is the initial state. And it is assumed to be static and inanimate. Now, we sometimes want a change. So, to overcome this problem, 4D printing was introduced in 2013. Now, 4D printing allows accurate imitation of dynamics of a native tissue. So, if there is a change in the shape of the tissue, you can accordingly change the software. At that particular moment, we are changing. So that is what it is. It is dynamic rather than static. Static means once you have made the software, once you have designed the shape, you cannot change it. But here in 4D printing, there is an option for changing it. Likewise, 5D printing also has advanced systems where which has a potential to fabricate artificial bone for surgery. So this is the example of bioprinting for drug delivery, where we need a bio ink formulation. Okay, so bio ink formulation means, otherwise if you have an ink, it has chemical property, that it is made up of chemical, and it has some physical property. But bio ink means we have chemical properties, physical properties, as well as biological properties. So these are the cellular things which I incorporated. So we can use this for 3D printing, for dermal applications, oral formulations, implants, protein and oxygen releasing delivery, and we can also use 4D printing. Now 4D printing may see you have the time factor, where with time you can change the shape. So we can use it for hydrogels, oral formulations, microneedles and implants. So the point is that overall FDA encourages development of complex dosage forms and manufacturing processes using science and risk-based approaches. Now it is commercially feasible. That is why FDA approved 3D printed drug product in August 2015. And this graph shows that in 2016, only US was actually holding a dominant position in 3D printing. And it is predicted that in 2023, again, US will increase its command on 3D printing. And the blue bar, which is much lower, is still struggling with adoption and usage of 3D printing. So as compared to US, we are almost 4 times less. The rest of the world is less. And this picture is the first 3D printed product, that is Britannia. Now, in addition to drug delivery, 3D printing can also be used for supplements, and those supplements can be personalized. For example, if we want to prepare a capsule, and we have three components which are meant to release now, and 3 components to release later. So vitamin A, omega-3 and magnesium, they can be designed to release now, and then vitamin C, caffeine and vitamin B6 for release later, right? So what I mean to say is that you can have various quantities of vitamin A, omega-3, magnesium, and all these 3, all of the 6 of them. So which means that thousands of combinations are possible. Now, I have talked so much about 3D printed products and all those things. What are the softwares available for 3D printing? We have SketchUp, Tinkercad, Autodesk Fusion, Blender, Onshape, Slid Edge, Ultimaker Cura, Mesh Mixer, Simplify 3D, Mesh Lab, NetFab, etc. The ones which have been marked as red, they are available free. So you can use them, and if you want, you can experiment with them. So if I want to summarize, 3D printing technology is basically used for making tailored made medical devices or tailored oral drug delivery devices, which will lead to manufacturing of oral dosage forms and we can use for flexible multi-drug combination and individualized dosing. And I would like to end my talk with a quote by Alvin Toffler. The illiterate of 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. What I mean to say is that we have already learned so much, but it's now the era of 3D printing technology. We have to learn it, we have to unlearn certain things, and we have to learn new things without leaving the conventional things. Of course, I'm not saying to drop them, but we have to learn them. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. And if you have any questions, you can definitely ask.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such a wonderful session on the 3D printing methodology and their applications. I know, ma'am, this means in the future we are going to have these kind of problem, means as we are moving towards the personalized medications. So everyone is going to get the medicines on the basis of their individual genetic integrity. That time, this conventional formulation like the compression, coating, and all things would not be sufficient for addressing or for supplying that kind of the situation. That kind of product cannot be prepared with the help of this conventional methodology, and that time our 3D printing methodology would be quite helpful. But after that, I'm also having some questions or queries, like in current scenario, means how these technology would be helpful. Means it is, I think this is quite impractical. Like if I'm saying that I need some tablet or capsule, so as I know, my perception of about the 3D printing is key for making a tablet or capsule. It is, I think, required 15 or 20 minutes for the simple printing of the tablet and capsule. So how this the scalability we are going to address, or in the future when the large number of the population is going to demand personalized medications, so how the 3D printing will be helpful for those kind of the persons. So this is my questions.
Of course, scale up is a big issue with the 3D printing. Okay. And I haven't come across anything called scale up of 3D printing. What I have come across is that its application will be for personalized use, and only in those settings where there is a constraint for time and resource. It has a definite specific application. Now, what will be its manufacturing scale up? That needs to be addressed very properly. Okay, I have come across many people talking about 3D printing technology. Even the vice chancellor of this university, he was talking about that he has got a 3D printer installed in AIIMS Patna.
Right.
Okay. So basically, till date, it is again a personalized thing only for small scale. And how far it will work for scale up, that we need to wait for it. And I think it will take another 20 years for that to happen, where we can convert it into a large scale manufacturing.
Right. Means till now the technology is a very earlier phase.
Yeah.
And like all the participants are here, that intellect mind is going to develop kind of the things that
Yes.
we would be in the situation that at a time we would be able to deliver the large number of the product to
But I want to also mention that I mentioned that FDA has already approved the manufacturing of Spritam. So it is already in the scale up, right? It is just that we are not aware of it. See, the point is we are still learning about 3D printing, while US is already producing on a manufacturing scale. So that is the difference, the topic I have talked about may be new to many people. But think about it that in 2014, the product is already in the market in US. So they are far ahead. They are far ahead. Maybe we have to learn the technology. We have to go for it. We have to develop our indigenous technology. We have to work very hard. We have to work very hard. From rest of the world, from the rest of the world, we have to create our own bar.
FDA is already approved the 3D printed product into their US market, but still in India we are still thinking how we are going to develop the product. So So I would like to all the participants, if they are having any queries, any questions, the house is open for taking questions with the permission of the Kamla ma'am.
Yes, of course. Anyone who is interested, as far as I know, I can answer it.
So the participant can ask the question directly or can write on the chat box as well.
Good afternoon,
Yeah,
ma'am.
good afternoon.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Right, please.
Ma'am, what are the complications if we talk about the machinery that is used in 3D printing of medicines? Are there any complications related to the machinery that is used in 3D printing?
Machinery is what? Like in scale-up level, in manufacturing level?
No.
Okay, manufacturing level. See, I don't think I've talked about those concepts, but let me think that we do. I don't think there must be many difficulties. With the advent of technology, when we are controlling everything robotically and computerized, I don't think there will be much problem. It's just we have to grab about it. We have to just catch hold of the technology. It is not very difficult. Definitely not very difficult. I don't think so.
Don't you think that if we have a small issue, ma'am, if we talk about, ma'am, if we have a batch going on for 3D printing and we have a small complication in machinery, and this can, ma'am, lead to large scale, ma'am, complications of the medicines that are produced.
It would be similar as the conventional techniques.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I think controlling here is much more easier because you are working through computers.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be more convenient working through computers and robotics. And disaster is like uncontrollable. We shouldn't think of disaster. We should first think of what we can do with it, what wonders we can create. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
let's talk about positive things and definitely the troubleshooting. See, anyone who is dealing with technology is also aware that there would be troubleshooting, and we need to learn about that. Only then we'll be able to reach a process where we can get 100% results.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah.
I
Okay.
think I'm sure.
And I think you have that potential because you're asking this question.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would just want to add one thing, madam, because this technology is something adapt with the computational. So additionally, we are having some problem solver as well.
Yes.
So definitely, whatever the complication you are going to have or the face during this execution, so your computer system and this all software will take care of this.
Yes, sir.
We have to learn more. That is what was the last message said. We have to unlearn, relearn. That is very important. Learn, unlearn, relearn. वो करना पड़ेगा. Then only we'll get a control over this technology.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the machinery same, ma'am, just we are having in the mechanical department, the 3D printer.
Are you referring to me? Are you asking this to me?
Yes, ma'am.
No, we are not. We are not having any mechanical department. We are having a huge hospital setup. Hai. But yes, I was telling that in AIMS Patna there is 3D printer. Okay, so I think the doctors are already using it.
Okay.
Doctors are, and I would always recommend, जो वो 3D printing जो पेन के साथ बताया है, उसको तो definitely everyone should try to actually learn what is it. Okay.
So any other questions with the participants is having? I think, ma'am, you have addressed all of the queries already in your presentation. So with the permission of the director, sir, can we conclude the session?
Yes, please, yes.
Thank you, sir. So on behalf of the management, director, sir, vice principal, sir, all faculty member of ISFCP Moga, I would like to thank Kamla, ma'am, just sharing their view and their experience on this 3D printing technology. And definitely my participants, not only from the ISFCP, means we are having the participants from all over the India, the faculty member, the students, and definitely they are going to get benefit out of these presentations. So thank you very much once again, ma'am, for sharing your views and experience and your time and paying your time on this webinar and the session. Thank you, Director, sir, for joining us. One information for the all participants: in ISFCP, we are having a specialized facilities for the outsourcing of your, if you're troubling in your research or development, or if you are struggling with your the research kind of the work, so we are having the outsourcing facilities, or we are here to support your research and innovations. ISFA laboratory we are having the animal house facility in the ISFCP. So for that we are here. Any participants or any faculty member, any students, if they are willing to collaborate with the institutes, we are welcoming all the participants. So another notice for the certificate. So I'm going to send a mail separately for your certificates. You just need to fill that form. That will be consisted of a few questions. And if you are having the sufficient knowledge about your about this presentation, so definitely you are going to get this certificate. So thank you once again, all the participants, all the students, all the faculty member, Kamla ma'am and Director sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.